What's up, sober gang? You guys, look, we got a great show lined up for you guys today. I'm so excited about this interview. We got the lovely and beautiful and talented Sonya Johnson in the building. She will be sharing her story. And that little tingly feeling you having right now, don't worry about it. That's only because you just entered the Sober Gang experience. Let's go.
And he was going there and just a nightmare, disrupting everything, yelling, crying, all kinds of stuff, running out to the car.
So if this is y'all first time to the channel, I would love for you all to go watch the recent interviews or the latest videos we did back in the day with Richie also. What's up, bro?
Yo, what's up?
I can't call it, man. It's another beautiful day.
I have a way of navigating my way through triggers, but in the process of recovery, I've picked up a lot of tools and I've latched on and jumped in the back pockets of people with more experience in recovery. And when I have those triggers, I pick up tools.
Now, this is Mr. Show Out TV, my podcast, where we talk about addiction, and we try to come up with solutions. We try to come up with ways that we can actually help people that is battling addiction. Welcome back. Today is going to be awesome, you guys. And if you're brand new to this channel right now, I'm your host. I'm Mr. Show Out, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. Alcoholism was my drug of choice. But I had to make a decision, right? Right, everybody? I need my congregation in the building with me because we finna rock out how we rock out, and we finna enjoy ourselves today. But I had to make a decision. I had to get myself together. And so I decided to go to rehab. And when that was like the best decision I could have ever made in my life. Literally in my life, you guys. So today, this is very, very special. I'm so honored to have Sonya Johnson in the studio with me today. We finna chop it up. And we finna inspire and motivate people in addiction, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So if you're brand new to the channel right now, I would love for you guys to take the time out and give this video a like, and also subscribe if you're brand new. And we're finna jump right into it, you guys.
Hello.
Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Sonya.
Thank you so much for having me today. I love the introduction.
Thank you. No problem at all. So we finna really inspire and motivate a lot of people today. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So can you tell me a little bit about how you grew up?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up, I'm from Florida. Okay. So it's always been nice and warm here. There's good energy here. Something about like the salt water and the heat and the beaches. It's just a really good atmosphere here. And so I grew up thinking that the world was a really good place. Like I thought people were just inherently good people. I grew up in a 2-parent household. And then when I got a little bit older, life started happening. My parents wound up separating and everything changed after that. That whole perception of the world being this like great place kind of got shattered, and life started happening to my family. And so my mom and I moved out and the lifestyle changed, right? Because then she became a single mom who had to work full time in order to take care of me. And I'm an only child, by the way. Right. So I was very like entitled, thought everything should come to me because I didn't have to share with nobody growing up. But, like when my mom started working a lot, I was left at home a lot. So I spent a lot of time at home alone. And when I look back, I really think like that's the root of my disease, right? Now that I've done some work on myself, like loneliness and isolation and boredom and no purpose, all of that stuff. But then what happened is I started going through a lot of trauma in my teenage years. So I went from being sexually abused to being in an abusive relationship, to getting pregnant and then losing a baby, and then the father of that baby passed away. And
Mhm.
so for me, like, that was a lot on me, and I never talked about how I felt. I just held on to everything and stuffed it all inside and just, like, suck it up, don't talk about how you feel. Like, that's where I was at with it, right? And
Right.
so when I found drugs and alcohol, that was the answer.
That
You know
was
what I'm
it.
saying? Like, that was it. That was the answer. It made it all go away, and I didn't feel lonely or bored. It gave me, for a moment, if this makes any sense, like, belonging and purpose
Right.
when I first started using.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Oh, it always makes sense. When we going through stages in our life and we find that one little thing, or we think we find that one little thing, Sonya. And sometimes, it's an old saying go, when you take the panties off of them drugs, it gets you every time. So we always fall victim to that sometimes. So I can always say that we all go through that. Um, what was it like being in active addiction for 20 years?
Man, it was 20 years. So I started using drugs when I was the first time I put a substance in my body was 11 years old. And when I finally got arrested at my last arrest, not the first arrest, but the last arrest, because there was many in between that, right?
All right.
But this last one, I was 34 years old. And so we're talking about 23 years of using some type of substance. And so in the beginning, it was fun. Like, I partied on the weekends. We had fun with our friends. We were wild and young and free. I don't know if you remember that song, but it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, wild and young and free. Yeah, well, Wiz Khalifa. I know exactly what you're
Yes.
talking about. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wild and young and free. I understand.
Yes.
When we were just living life. Living life.
Mhm. Yeah, that was my anthem, right? That was the party anthem for me when I was a kid. I thought I was having fun. And in the beginning, I was. But
Right.
then what happened is, and this is what I try to tell my kids today, right? If you're smoking weed and drinking with your friends, that crowd, eventually one of those people is going to have a different kind of substance, right? And
Right.
if you're drinking and smoking, and then one of those days you're going to wind up using with them. And that's
Right.
what I did. I started using other substances,
Mhm.
and immediately my first DOC was cocaine, and I fell in love with it. I mean, I remember everything about it, the way it felt, where I was at, who I was with, the way that it smelled, what I did. I mean, I remember everything vividly because it changed something in my brain, right? The
Mhm.
moment that I had it, all I wanted was more, but I was never able to achieve that feeling that I had the first time, you know? It's
Right.
like the great deception.
Yeah.
And so what happened is I went through that addiction, and then I substituted, founded another addiction, because I always thought that I could manage the problem. And if I just stopped using this substance and I started using this substance, then it would be okay, or I'm only going to use so much money, or I'm only going to do it on the weekends, or I'm going to sell drugs so that I'm not actually spending my own money. But no matter what I did, I always wound up in the same place, broke, busted, rock bottom. That's
Right.
where I always wound up.
Right.
And so the consequences didn't really start adding up on me until later in life. But I knew from the time that I was 18 years old that I was an addict. I wasn't ready to admit it, but I knew that my drug problem was a problem by the time I was 18. And so I don't know if you want me to talk about like where it got really dark at, or I'll just give you that for right now.
Yeah, we gonna get right into it. So can you
Okay.
tell me how was it like? What was your mental aspect when hitting rock bottom so many times?
You know what? I've heard this saying, and the saying is that rock bottom is when you stop digging, right? Because I've hit rock bottom over and over and over again. And this last rock bottom wasn't the worst one, but all those other times, I always thought I could do something different. Like, oh, this time it'd be different. Like, I stopped using, I detoxed. This time I can just manage my addiction, or this time I'm going to try a different type of drug, or I just never had the willingness, because quite honestly, I never thought that not using was a solution. Like I thought that was the answer. That was my only solution. So how could I not use? It was the only thing that made me feel better. It was the only thing that made me be a outgoing and bubbly person. It's where I had friends that like it gave me everything, or so I thought at that time. So not using was not an option. And then once I was hooked, like I've been busted, I've been dirty, I haven't showered for days, I've been in and out of detoxes and jails. I've done things to degrade myself, and I've stolen from my parents. I did all of the things that would have put me in a rock bottom. But no matter how many rock bottoms I hit, it just was never enough for me because I didn't understand that I could stop using. And quite frankly, anytime that I didn't have drugs, I hated myself so much. And I had so much shame and guilt and pain that I couldn't continue to stop using. I didn't have any tools. It was my tool.
Right. Right. How did your journey through addiction impacted your relationship with your loved ones, especially your daughter?
That is a great question. So my addiction, I have this saying that I say to myself that's helped me to accept responsibility. And that saying is that I didn't lose everything. I gave it all away. And I know that when we're in our addiction, we lose the power of choice. But I knew that there was like I could have gone to detox, like I continued to use despite the consequences and hurt everybody around me, everybody that I loved. I hurt my children. I hurt my mom, my dad, my husband. I was an unfaithful wife, right? I was an absent mom. I stole from my parents. And the only time I would talk to them was if I was using them for something. Because quite frankly, like if you didn't have something for me, I wasn't going to be around you because
Right.
I got to move. You know what I'm
We moving and
saying?
grooving. Yeah, because I
Right.
can't stick around if you ain't got nothing to bring to the table.
Right.
Exactly. I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah, so it ruined every relationship that I had, and it got to a point my parents enabled let me talk about this for a minute. My
Hmm.
parents enabled me for a long time, right? They would buy me cars, they would put me up in a place when I would get evicted, they would bond me out of jail, and I continued to go back to using. And so every time that they would fix it, I would go screw it up again. And
Hmm.
so it got to a point where they just couldn't enable me anymore. I don't know what happened with them, like this come to Jesus moment where they're like, we can't do this for her anymore. But they finally found the strength, because it takes a lot of strength to do this, to completely cut me off. I remember one time I got arrested. It cost $200 to get me out of jail and $250 to get my car out of jail. And don't you
Wow.
know, they got my car out, left my ass sit right there in the jail.
That's
But
some
I
of that
probably
tough
needed
love.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that tough love.
exactly.
Mhm.
But yeah, it impacted our relationships and ruined our relationships, like they couldn't trust me. All
Mhm.
I did was hurt them. I kept them up all night worrying about me not being able to sleep because is this going to be the night I get the phone call? So I drove everybody away and burned every bridge for every person in my life.
I can honestly, know exactly what you're going through because I did that as well. A lot of times when we in our addiction, right, everyone, um, we be selfish. A lot of times we selfish. We only think about ourselves and we only think about that high. We do not at the moment. We do not be thinking about what was really going on the back end when we really be hurting our loved ones and the people that really just love us. So I can only, I can admit
Yeah.
with you. Can you share with us some of the challenges you faced when trying to quit drugs? What kept you going despite the setbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest challenge for me is that I didn't know how to not use drugs, because there got a point in my life where I knew I needed to stop and I used against my own will. Like every day I would tell myself, tomorrow I'm going to stop. And then tomorrow would come and I would use again over and over and over again. And I think the reason I did that is because I didn't know how to stop. And so I would say that that was probably like the biggest challenge for me. I didn't understand how to stop and I didn't understand addiction, right? Like, I didn't know that my brain was telling my body that I needed this, just like I needed air or food or water. I didn't understand that. So I just thought I was like a bad person. You know what I mean? I thought I was a bad mom, a bad person. But what I know now that I didn't know then is that I was just really sick and I didn't have the choice. Like, I lost the power of choice. And so I think that in order for anybody to be successful in recovery, regardless of what path you choose, you have to have tools in your toolbox to know how to not use. Like, when that obsession comes, when that thought hits, what am I going to do? Because what I always did was I just used because I thought that was the only option, but today I know, like, call somebody, talk about it. Go for a walk, go exercise, say a prayer, whatever that is. There are tools that we can use that help you to get through those feelings. And then you get to the other side of them and you're like, dang, I did it. Like, I didn't use. And that's a big deal for somebody like me. So I think it was just like the lack of understanding about how it works and what I was going through, like that shame and guilt.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. In what ways did hitting rock bottom in jail contribute to your decision to get sober?
Okay, I got to tell you my jail story.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So before I got arrested, my husband and I had separated because I was not doing him good, right? I was running around using, doing whatever I had to do to go get more. So you can use your imagination what that
Right,
means.
right,
And so that led us to separating. And I got arrested on my birthday, which, by the way, I was not happy about. But when I look back on it today, I'm grateful for that. That was a great birthday present, actually.
right, right.
Because it started the sequence of events in my life that led me to getting clean. So I went in and out of jail over and over again from 2018 until 2019. Well, on one of the times that I was arrested, I got caught in the probation office trying to falsify a drug test. So my probation officer called the Department of Children and Families on me and took custody of my kids. And I went to jail that day. So I had separated my husband, and then I had lost my children, and then I was literally living in a shed behind a trap house with a dope dealer with no food, no water, no toilet, no shower. I mean, it was legit. We were living in a shed. The only thing that we had was the dope, right?
Right.
And so that was where I was like, every day I would tell myself, today's going to be the last day. Tomorrow I'm going to go get help. But it never happened until I finally got arrested for the last time because my mom called Crime Stoppers on me. I don't know. You know what Crime Stoppers is?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah. She got paid $280 to turn me in on my felony warrants.
Yeah, she said she got that money. I know
Yeah.
what I know what she get.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So when I got to the jail, though, I went through an awful detox, like the worst detox ever. And I wasn't allowed to talk to my kids. My parents would not send me any bail money or any commissary money. I had lost my husband. Like, I had lost everything. Right. And I didn't have my only coping tool, which was the substances.
Right.
So I didn't have the only thing that ever made me feel better. And I had to really sit in my shit, for lack of better words,
Mm-hmm.
and see what had come to, what my life had come to. And I'm in jail. Like, I did this. These are the results of my actions. And that moment in jail, I call that my gift of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment that I had in jail was awful. It was painful. I was so spiritually broken and just, it was such a dark place. But again, like I said about being grateful for what happened on my birthday, getting arrested, I'm grateful for that too, because that tells me where I don't want to be again. I don't ever have to go there again either. As long as I don't pick up one day at a time, and as long as I do the next right thing to the best of my ability, because guess what? Sometimes my ability ain't all that great.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's what I
Yeah.
love to tell a lot of people. When you in your recovery, it's very, listen everybody, it's a 24-hour job. This just do
Right.
not end overnight. Every day you wake up, every moment of your day, you live in recovery. So you got to maintain your sobriety, and you got to just take it one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, as I love to say, because it's very difficult. It's hard. It's easy to relapse, but it's very, very difficult to remain sober and remain clean.
That's so true.
Yes,
That's so true. Like doing the wrong thing is easy to do. Doing the right thing takes courage and strength. But doing the wrong thing may feel good in the temporary, but you're going to pay for it in the long run. Doing the right thing may be hard in the temporary, but you're going to be rewarded in the long run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How did almost losing custody to your daughter affect your motivation to turn your life around?
So when I was in jail, right, I was looking at going to prison and they were offering me 20 and a half months in prison. I have 2 sons, by the way. So they were offering me prison and I was 5 months into what was supposed to be a 12-month case plan. By federal law, you got 12 months to get your kids back. If you can't do it in that 12 months, you're going to lose your rights. And so I knew that. And so I was 5 months in, I was looking at going to prison. And I had come to this point where I was like, you know what? Maybe my kids are better off without me. I ain't never been nothing but a bad mom anyways. Maybe they would be better for somebody else to raise them. But what happened is I met this lady in the jail and she would come bring in meetings in there and she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I remember specifically one time in her meeting sharing that I'm 34 years old. I've never done anything right in my entire life. Why even try? Like, why bother? I'm nothing but a failure. Like I said, that I didn't see in me. And so the day that I went to court, I was supposed to be taking an offer to go to prison for 20 and a half months. But guess what? That lady showed up to court and she advocated for me to not go to prison and instead to go to treatment. And she had worked it out. Like she had, I don't know, pulled some strings, but she got me into that treatment center. And so when I went to treatment, by that time I had hope, right? I had hope because of the people that came in there into the jail and they shared their stories and they told me that I could get clean because they got clean. Like, you know, what we do for people now, you know, they gave that to me. And so when I got to that treatment center, if you told me that I had to do 10 cartwheels and bark like a dog to stay clean, that's what I was fitting to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, sometimes when we hit rock bottom, you guys, when we hit rock bottom and we sitting in them jail cells and we're reflecting on life, right? That one, it finally hits us like, man, you know what? All this shit ain't worth it. I got to get my shit together. I got to figure out a way to really just, you know, get all the luster up. You got to muster up a whole bunch of luster and just try to just go out there and fight these demons, because we be so accustomed to what we've been doing, and it's very, very hard. So when we at that crossroad, that's when we gotta really just stand 10 toes down, and we gotta fight this, man. Exactly.
I love that you said that because I think that's what happened to me. I made this decision that whether I win or lose, I'm going to go out swinging no matter what.
Right. And that's exactly what you did. So I love to say I commend you right now for everything you're doing, because a lot of people out there right now, Sonya, is going through the same battles or facing the same thing and just do not know how to get out of it. So I commend you. I commend you so much.
Thank you. And you too. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a long road for me, but it's been an exciting journey. You know what I mean? A lot of people used to always say, man, yeah, I used to think this so much, Sunday. I can't have no fun being sober, man. I'm so used to drinking. I'm so used to, man, you know, what a party at, that type of situation. But when I found recovery, when I found sobriety, it just turned my life all the way around a 360. It's just like clicking on a light switch. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can dig this. You know what I mean? It's worth it. It's worth it.
It's more fun sober, ain't it?
Yes, I mean, I enjoy it. And
I used to think the same thing.
And the best part about it is the kids, Sonya. they're
That's
happy.
right.
They're happy,
Hmm.
and man, I can look at the family and everybody like, okay, he's back. We got him. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what I love the most.
Yes.
Can you describe your experience with treatment instead of prison? How did the opportunity change your perspective on recovery?
That's a great question. So when I went to treatment, I think the majority of the mental change happened when I was in jail, but I didn't learn the tools, right? So
Mhm.
if I would have just left jail and went out, I wouldn't have known what to do. And so when I went to treatment, I started learning about myself, right? And that's the most important thing I could have ever found was myself. So I started learning like how that one day at a time thing, how you stay clean one day at a time, all this internal trauma that I had had for all these years. I learned how to deal with that stuff, and I'm still working on it. Like, it wasn't a one and done. I'm still working on that stuff today, but I learned how to do that. I
Mhm.
learned how to get to the other side of a feeling. I was able to work my case plan while I was there and get support around me and find people that understood me, because I always felt like I was like an outcast and nobody understood me and I was just different, right?
Mhm.
But when I went to that treatment center, I found a lot of people that were just like me.
Right.
And for the first time in my life, I felt like I finally belonged somewhere. And I still feel like that today, right? Because when I was in that treatment center, that same group of people were out here in the community now, and we're still doing this recovery thing together. And so I think that being in the rehab gave me the tools to know. I didn't apply them yet, but they gave me the tools in my toolbox. And then when I left the rehab, then I started putting the work in.
Right. Right. You
Hmm.
doing, like I said, you are doing an awesome job. I'm so proud of you, and I can just really tell that you are glowing again. You got your swag back, and that's what it is, you guys. I mean, we also, when we in recovery, it's a feel good situation. It's a feel good. It's a feeling that you get because we so accustomed to what we used to do, and when we get that
Hmm.
feeling back, you guys, I can't describe it. It's another feeling. It's another
Yes. Sometimes people call that the pink cloud, right? Because
feeling.
you get so it's like a natural high, like
Hmm.
literally, you feel so good about yourself and life and just connection and like your future and all of these things.
Hmm.
Um and it's just the most amazing feeling ever.
Awesome, awesome. What methods or strategy did you find helpful in maintaining your sobriety during and after treatment?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So, I personally worked a 12-step program, and I will say that I support all paths to recovery. And when I first got arrested, there was no alternative paths offered. And so, my only option was to go completely abstinent. It might have been different if there was another alternative method offered. But that was the only choice I had. Like, I had to kick it on the floor, and it was awful. But when I went to treatment, I started meeting people in a 12-step program. And so I continued to work that 12-step program even today. But I will say, like in this last year, I've started this job. I work at the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and I'm a peer specialist, right? And so
Awesome.
I work with other people that are just like me, and I've learned a lot of new tools for my toolbox, right? Like I've learned how to look at the assets in my recovery instead of just like the things I got to do. Like, let's look at what I got and see how I can use my strengths to be able to achieve my goals, and I've learned how to kind of do this. We call it RAP, but it's kind of like a living will, but a recovery will, so to
Right.
speak. It's a
Right.
living document. And
Mhm.
so we talk about like crisis planning and strengths based and your recovery toolbox and your support network, and there's just so much stuff. So I think that as we grow in our recovery journey, we get to add all kinds of tools to our toolbox. And so I got my 12-step program, I got my recovery program with my people from my work, the connections, church, like I got it all.
Right. Right. I'm so happy for you. And like I said, you're doing awesome. And I can just
Thank you.
It's radiating off of you. That glow again. That smile is back. She got her swag back, you guys. I'm telling you, this is an awesome feeling.
Mhm.
Being sober and getting your life back together, it's an awesome feeling. So if anybody out there right now, if you battling addiction, I'm telling you, y'all, just try to hang in there. Because I know it might look dark right now, but please, if you put in the work, and you find the resources out there, there's plenty of resources.
That's right.
Yes, you got to try to search them resources in your local community. It's a
Mhm.
lot of resources: outpatient, inpatient, residential. Online treatment. So just try to find some resources that can help.
That's a really good point because I think part of my problem was that I didn't know there were resources,
Mhm.
but there are a wealth of resources in my community, I know. And there's a lot of resources that you can find more resources too. So there are resources out there, whether you Google it or you go to outpatient or inpatient or the meetings or whatever that is. There are resources no matter where you're at. There's something out there for you.
Most definitely. Most definitely. As a peer recovery specialist, how do you feel your personal experiences with addiction enhance your ability to help others?
Mm, yes. As a peer, right, I work with other parents who've lost their children. That's what I do in my professional role. I work in what we call the dependency system, and that's the system I went through. Actually, I've been through a couple systems, but it's the one that's most near and dear to my heart because it is the source of my greatest pain and my greatest trauma. I'm still working on that today, like the trauma that I went through. But I will say that being able to work in that field and help other people, parents, to not feel alone and to understand the struggles that they're going through has I already had like meaning in my life, but it has given my life so much more meaning and purpose to be able to come alongside somebody and say, listen, like I've been there before. I struggled with addiction. I lost my kids, like, but I've changed my life. And I know if I can do it,
It's
I
right.
know you can do it too. So I think the way that we see people is different when we've been there. I don't see somebody as their addiction or as their struggle, whatever that struggle may be. I see them as a human and as a person. And not only that, a person with potential and a
Right.
person with gifts and talents and skills that they may not even know about yet.
Right.
But I want to be there to support them and help them figure out who they are and what they were made for.
That's awesome. That's an awesome job. And we need way more people like you because it's easy for us to go out there and get the doctors with the PhDs and all the accolades. But when we get the word from people that actually lived it and been through it, it resonates. It reaches people a little bit better, than the
Mhm.
people. So
That's right.
yeah.
Totally agree.
hmm What advice would you have for someone who is currently struggling with addiction and feels like they hit rock bottom?
Mhm. I would say that no matter how bad you've messed up, no matter how bad you think you are not too far gone and you are worth recovery. There is help and resources available. Please continue watching our live videos, follow us on YouTube. Like we're going to give you hope because
Okay.
at one point in time we were you. We are you. We're just in a different time period right now. But I know if I can do it, then you can do it too. There's resources out there available and you are worth this. Give yourself a chance and reach out to somebody and ask for help because that's the first step. If you reach out and ask for help, then you will find what you're looking for. It's not going to be easy,
Right.
but it's definitely going to be worth it.
That's what I love to say also. I love to say you have to put the work in. It's not,
Mhm.
sobriety and recovery do not just fall out the sky. It ain't, it's not nothing that we just go wake up and be like, you know what, I'm recovered. You have to put the work in. It's a 24-hour job. And
Right.
it's every day we have battles. every day don't be a Hallmark card with smiles and greetings. We go through things, and we just have to just be strong in the fight. So
That's
I fin-
right.
I'm finna play this little video clip for you. I hope you don't get too emotional, but I made this for you, and
Oh,
I made this for you.
okay. Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome. So when you going through your addiction and you sitting in jail, and you get to thinking about those faces right there, what comes
Mhm.
to your mind?
Strength. When I think seeing my kids and talking to my kids gave me and I didn't want to give up. I just didn't know how. That was my motivation. They always told me, you have to do it for yourself. You have to do it for yourself. I couldn't do it for myself because I didn't love myself, but I love my kids. And so when I see their faces, and I have their pictures hanging on my locker in rehab, when I see their faces, that is the motivation and the strength that I needed to change my life.
Absolutely. Because we got to think about this when we in our recovery. That is what it's about, you guys. Is because when we in our addiction, we so damn selfish. We're
Yep.
always thinking about us. We're thinking about how we go get it. We're thinking about how we go manipulate people. We're thinking about just us, period. And we lose focus. We lose sight on really what is important, and that's the kids, you guys. So
That's right.
like I say, I commend you for everything you're doing. You stepping up. You reaching these people. You helping people in the community, and you got your swag back, Sonya. See, that's the best part. When you start to feel good, you look good, and it resonates. So now now the kids see it. We got mom back. She's smiling. She happy. The husband happy. The family happy. That's the
That's
best
right.
part. That's the best part. Are
Yeah.
there any specific tools or support systems that you found essential during your journey in recovery?
The most essential tool, I believe, is just talking about how you feel. Because when it's up here all by itself, it goes crazy dark really fast. And I start thinking I got some really great ideas that probably are not good ideas. So if I just get it out of here, right? Find a safe person to support you in that process of talking about how you feel. I truly believe that is like the number one tool. Just get it out of here because it grows in the dark and
Right.
it dies in the light. So you
Right.
got to get it out and talk about how you feel. If nothing else, you got to find a safe person to talk to that can help you in your recovery journey. I think that's the number one thing.
Absolutely. Great answer. Great answer. What role did finding purpose and meaning in your life play in your recovery process?
Say that again.
What role did finding your purpose again,
Mm-hmm.
in your recovery journey help you in the process?
Yes. I think that the first time that I ever went and told my story, right? And I walked away from that meeting. I call it a spiritual high. And
Right.
so it's like you just walking away, you're like jacked up, like you just did something good for the world. You got to use all that pain and turn it into power and purpose. And it just feels so good, right? And
Right.
so I kind of got addicted to that feeling, right? And so I
Right.
started like,
Yeah.
and
It's powerful. It's powerful.
yes, it is. It
Yes.
is. And so I just started helping people. And in the process of helping people, like I figured out I'm really good at doing that. I'm really good at meeting people where they're at and loving them regardless, like I'm good at being a supporter and a listener. And so I found me by losing myself in service to others. And so I think if anything, like that's helped me to find my purpose is just getting out there and being willing to share and being willing to support. And it's helped me discover who I am. And it helps me too. Like it helps me to help others.
That's what I tell a lot of people. They really didn't understand what I was doing with this channel when I first came out. I had family members that congratulated me, but still did not understand when I would upload videos to Facebook, and they really didn't understand. But I had an epiphany. I knew that I could share my story. I knew that there was other people out there that deserved to hear my story, and I just kept pushing. You know what I'm saying? I know that even if I'm monetized, even if I'm not, I would just upload videos just sharing my journey. It wasn't about the monetization. It wasn't about the views. And still to this day, I think that the reason why I'm doing so good is because I don't worry about that. I just let that fall into place how it comes, But I'm so passionate about finding other people to share their story, me creating great content about addiction that can inspire and motivate people. That is what gets me high right now, and that's why I continue to do this. So
that's right. And I just want to say, like, when you do that, when your motives, the reason why you're being blessed is because it's really your motive to get the word out and to help other people with your story. You were always supposed to tell your story, right? And now that you're in recovery and you've discovered that, because if you've been through addiction, you have a story to tell and you're meant to tell that story. And if you do it, right? If you share your story and you get out there and you help others, you're going to be blessed as a result of it. We are both living proof of that.
Absolutely. How did you, how have you rebuilt trust with your loved one, especially your daughter? Your sons after overcoming addiction?
That's such a good question, because when people first get clean, they just want to like get everything back, mend things with their family, get a job, get a place, get a car, like do all the things, right? But it doesn't work like that, because we didn't get here overnight and we're not going to fix it overnight either. And so it took a long time. Like I'm talking about a year, right? Just to start working on the relationship with my family. Because before I can ever be right with anybody else, I got to be right with me first. So first I had to take some time to work on myself, deal with that trauma, get stabilized, learn some healthy coping tools, fall in love with myself. And then once that's good, then I can start opening up my heart and my mind to try to mend those relationships, because they didn't want to hear I'm sorry. No. They done heard that before. They wanted to see it in my actions. And so instead of like talking about it, instead of apologizing, I showed them with my actions that I'm going to be a different person today. And that's how our relationships have been mended. And some stuff, again, like we're not perfect, everything isn't always all better, no matter how long it is. So there's still some stuff that I'm working on, but I know that my family, my children, my husband, they deserve for me to work on this as long as it takes, because they have the right to feel however they feel. Their feelings are valid too. And so I got to respect that and honor that. And I think through that process, it's really helped to mend those relationships.
That's what I love to say. Because when we in our addiction, you guys, right? When we in our addiction, we it's a lot of relationships that we break. And a lot of times we have to let the people who we have let down, we have to give them time. Just because we get out of rehab and we say we think we're good, them old scars and those wounds that we have caused are still there. We have to give a lot of people a lot of time, and sometimes it might take longer than others, you know. But we have to give them a little time to see that. And plus, we got to put in the work. When they start to realize that we are putting in the work, that's when they can probably come in a little bit slower. But it's a lot of old wounds and a lot of things that we have caused when we in our addiction, and we have to give a lot of people time to heal. That's right. Yeah, that's the great word for it.
Yep.
What steps do you take to protect your sobriety and prevent relapse in your day-to-day life now?
Okay, so here's the thing. I never, ever, ever try to control what other people do with their life. When I'm trying to tell you how you need to live your life and what you need to do with your recovery, that's a really good indicator that I need to go take a look in the mirror because that's what causes problems for me. And now with that being said, I have the power of choice today. So if you're not doing the right thing, I don't have to participate in it. And so I don't go around people that are using drugs. And I'm sorry, but that's just what I have to do to protect myself. It doesn't mean I don't love them, because I do, but I don't go into those places and expect something different to happen, because nothing changes, right? So I've got to stay away from those things, and I've got to have healthy boundaries in my life, because what I learned is that I have emotional triggers too, right? Like anger and sadness and rejection and abandonment. Those are my emotional triggers. And so I got to put up boundaries with the people that I love, because I'm not always going to be able to avoid triggers, right? But if I put boundaries up, I can at least protect myself to the best of my ability, which protects my recovery. And so I try to be a woman of integrity to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
I put up boundaries. I don't go around the dope house. And I don't tell people what to do with their lives. I try to either love them where they're at, or just do me, right? Because I think sometimes people get caught up in that a lot, but we really just got to focus on ourselves. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I focus on me, right? And once my cup is full, then I can pour into another cup.
Awesome answer. You on the road. You are on the road. Let's go take it back a little step. That moment when you was in court. Tell us about the moment that changed the game for you.
Yeah, that was the moment. I mean, I was in the courtroom. I had been in front of that judge several times already that year because I had been arrested other times. And so he was ready to send me to prison. But like I say, like this woman, and I'll tell you this much, actually, let me back up. Right before I walked into that courtroom, I was in the holding cell by myself, and I said a prayer, and that's where I surrendered at, right? I said, you know what, God, if you want me to lose my kids, fine. I get it, right? Maybe they would be better off without me anyways. But if this like stuff that these women about recovery, if that's true and it's for me, then I surrender to that right now. And when I walked into the courtroom, that lady was in there, and I didn't know she was going to be in there. And so she advocated for me to go to treatment instead of prison. I was literally supposed to walk in and sign an offer for 20 and a half months in prison. I thought that's what I was doing. And so it was a literal miracle that this woman was in there and I didn't have to do that. And so the judge told me, he said, listen, I'm going to send you to treatment today. And then I was on a year of house arrest, followed by a year of drug offender probation, like zero tolerance. So I had very hefty probation, and I had violated many other times in the past. So I'm like, man, this is a setup. But anyways, the judge told me, he said, if I see you back in this courtroom, you will be going to prison for a very long time. This is your chance, right? And so in my head, I'm like, this is my 8 Mile moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. And so I took that thought and turned it into willingness and passion to do the thing that I've wanted to do for so long. Because I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be clean. I always wanted to be a good person. I just didn't know how. And so that gave me like the tools, and it literally changed my life from that moment forward.
Wow. When they said that they were going to send you to treatment instead of prison, What came over you right there?
Oh, I think I started crying, honestly.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like another chance at life. Things could have went a lot different. God is really looking at you right now, and He's really working with you, Sonya. And
Mhm.
you got to give Him all the praise because
That's right.
we're
Amen.
nothing. We're nothing without Him. We can't do none of this. None of this is possible, you guys. You think that it was about fate that happened? God allowed everything to happen just like that for that day in court, for you to be doing exactly what you're doing, for you to be a peer recovery specialist, for you to be
Mhm.
out here really just stomping the ground, preaching and yelling and shouting out recovery. It's so amazing that we just need it. We need way more people like you to to be doing this. So I
Thank
commend
you.
you and I applaud you for everything you're doing. I'm glad my girl got her swag back. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? She got her swag back, and y'all ain't taking it, man. So that addiction, y'all can get on with that. Yeah, we're gonna keep her on this side of the track.
That's right.
Tell us about the story about your husband and
Mhm.
the story behind that.
So my husband and I were in our addiction together for a very long time. And it got to a point where he started to get really, really sick. Like we would be using, and then he would like have these really, really high fevers, and he would go in and out of consciousness, and he would be under the blankets, like shivering and sweating at the same time. And so we knew something was wrong, but we didn't exactly know what. And so I eventually convinced him to go to the hospital. Well, in the hospital, they told him that he had a bacterial infection in his blood, which was a Staph aureus infection. It had spread into his heart, it had spread into his lungs, and it spread into his kidneys. And by the way, he had kidney failure. And so it was not looking good. And for 6 months, right? Like, well, let's say for the first 2 months that he was in there, every day we didn't know if he was going to be alive the next day. Every day that could have been his last day. He got down to like 130 pounds, and my husband's like 6 foot tall.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, his legs were like the size of my arms. It was so scary. And he had endocarditis from using drugs, and it was a complication from using drugs. And so they didn't want to help him because he was a drug addict. So they weren't going to give him the surgery if he needed the surgery to replace his heart valve. And literally, it was truly by the grace of God that he survived that. And then he eventually started to get better after spending 6 months in the hospital. And then after he got better, this is how good God is, right? After he got better, he went across the street to the outpatient doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and they told him that he had 5 years to live if he did not use. If he continued using, it would be even less. Well, let me tell you something. That was in 2017.
Right.
And 2 years ago, I took him back to the same doctor, and they said that he has been completely healed. Heart, kidney,
Woo!
lungs, everything
Woo!
completely healed. That's God right there.
God will work miracles. I'm telling you guys, God will work miracles. You just have to believe, man. Look, you guys, I cannot tell you guys what to do with your life. But I know one thing about it. This recovery and this sobriety, this shit is what it is, man. I mean, I battled with alcoholism for so long, you guys. When I finally made the decision, sometimes you just gotta look yourself in the mirror. When I looked myself in the mirror and didn't recognize something, I did not recognize the person who I was. I was always a person that always smiled, always stayed nice dressed, and when I was looking at myself, I'm like, no, this ain't what it is. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so when I called that facility, I knew it was time. So sometimes, you guys, if you're out there listening, you just have to look at yourself sometime. And when you, I guess, what's the old saying? When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
That's right.
And
Yep.
when you get to that point and you like, man, this shit ain't what it is. That's when you know.
That's
So say,
right.
I'm finna get off into the game where I ask a lot of little questions.
Okay.
I would like you to answer this question for me.
Okay.
My name is Sonya, and I am
A recovering addict.
awesome. Answer. Awesome. Okay, finish this sentence for me. Today, I will not.
Use drugs, hurt myself, or anybody else to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, finish this one for me. Today, I have learned.
How to love myself and treat myself and others with respect.
Awesome. Awesome. You're hitting them all on the neck, girl. Girl, you're on the road. You're on the road. My girl on the road. Okay, okay. Out of everything you've been through, Sonya, court, jail, almost going to prison, almost losing the custody of your sons, the battle, the dark times, the highs and the lows, what have it taught you and what have you learned?
It has taught me how strong I really am. I always thought that I was like a weak person or a bad person or a I don't fit in person. And I have learned that everything, even the bad stuff, was all a part of the plan. Even if, like, I don't think that trauma is something that should have happened, but I do think that good can be worked out of anything that happened. And so I'm a warrior. You're a warrior, right? Like, we are warriors.
Man,
And everything that we've been through have led up to this moment right here. And all of it is a part of our purpose and a part of the plan.
awesome, awesome. I would like for you to tell the people out there watching how important is these interviews and my channel and your channel to the people out there that's battling addiction.
Oh man, it's so important. I'll tell you why I do social media. So my hope is that somebody can be up on their phone after being up for 3 days, right? And
Right.
they scroll in their phone mindlessly because that's what we do when
That's
we
what
out
we
there
do.
like that. And then they
Absolutely.
see my video or your video and they see somebody that's found recovery. And I pray for the people that watch my videos. Like, I want the right person to see it at the right time. And I can tell you that it has happened many, many, many times. And that's why we do what we do, because we know what it's like to be that person and we know what it's like to be on this side. And if we can do it as crazy as we were, I
Mhm.
promise that you can do it too.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible.
Mhm.
It's possible, you guys. You guys. So, what does the future hold for Miss Sonya?
Ooh, you know
What's-
what? That's a good question because
Mhm.
when I first got clean, like, I wrote down the list of things, right? All the things I wanted to accomplish in my recovery.
Right.
Since then, I have checked every single box. Like, I did it
Oh,
all, right?
that
So
part.
now I
That
got to
part.
find the new plan. Like, what's
That
the
part.
next goal?
Yeah. You.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing. Sonya, if you can tell someone right now, if somebody out there right now battling addiction, they don't know what to do. They at a real hard place right now. What words of encouragement will you give them right now?
Well, I would say the first thing to do is to say a prayer and ask for help. Because I'm here to tell you, when you pray to God and you say, I need help, your help is coming soon. So I would say definitely, like, say a prayer about it and ask for help, but reach out to somebody too and ask for help because we can point you in the right direction. You can send me a message. I can send you some resources. I'm sure that you could send you a message too, and you could
Mhm.
provide some resources. I mean, just reach out because you know what? This really is life and death out there right now. This epidemic is not slowing down. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't want to see something like that happen to you. because I know that you are worth it. And we will believe in you until you learn to believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sonya, again, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to interview you. And you guys, listen, I know a lot of her people came in today. So, you guys, if you would take the time out to make sure you get this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel because I go live every Mondays and Tuesdays on my platform. And we're going to continue to rock out how we rock out. We're going to continue to bring you positive and very impactful information and content about addiction. And that's what we do over here on the Sober Gang Experience podcast. And when I say Sober Gang, we are not affiliated with any type of organized gang, colors, or anything of that nature. When I say gang, is that we are a unit of people who we come together to try to inspire those battling addiction. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. Make sure you leave a comment down below. And if you're going through anything, I will always have my link and my email. You can email me if you want to become if you would love to be on the show, email me as well. Sonya, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we did this. This was fun.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad we connected and continue to do what you do. Never stop. Like I said, I can see you. You know, you got that aura around you back. You glowing. You got your swag. You swagged back up again. And plus, I know the kids love it, and the husband love it, and the family love it. So
that's right.
let's
Thank
continue.
you.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There you have it. There you have it. Look, you guys. This was an awesome show. If you wanted a show today, run you a show. And we're going to continue to do exactly what we do, right? We're going to continue to reach the masses. We're going to continue to try to inspire people one episode at a time. You guys, I would love to say thank you again to Miss Sonya Johnson for coming on the show today and giving her testimony, giving her story. It was awesome. I know we're gonna do this again. So I'm planning on probably having Miss Sonya on again. So I would love to say thank you again, Sonya, for a great interview. You guys, I'm telling you, looking at what she's been through and look at her now. It's possible. Recovery is possible. You have to want it. You have to want it. So thank you guys for tuning in with me. I'm Mr. Show Out TV. And this is the Sober Gang Experience podcast. You just entered and you just had a little feeling of this Sober Gang experience. I hope you guys love this video, man. Make sure you comment, share, like, and subscribe. Till next time. Yeah.
Welcome to Mr. Show Out TV Recovery and Addiction YouTube channel, where we hope to inspire those battling addiction. Please subscribe and like the channel. Make sure you click the notification bell to get notified whenever we broadcast. Thank you and enjoy the show. To support the channel, you can send donations to Cash App $Mr. Show Out TV. So please don't wait, subscribe now. Together we can help and give inspiration to millions of people.